Hey everyone, John again. I'm going to play some Immaculate Grid, going for that low rarity score as always, but not before I do the timed version, which I had mixed results on the couple old games that I went back and played, but I think I more or less nailed the grid from yesterday. Pretty sure. Let's double check on that as we load the video here. Looks like I got them both right. I have to share the screen though, right? Because I want to keep the clock. I could have done a lot better on this one actually. People pointed out like Cecil Fielder would have worked. My boy Jeremy Burnitz would have worked here. So Dave Winfield, even though he only played one season with Cleveland at 2%, was there was a lot better options there. Probably better options here too. Um, but in any event, I'm gonna do this is Rarity that's being shown right now, but I just flip flop between Google Chrome and in Google Chrome incognito. So um anyway, gonna hit refresh, gonna hit play, and let's get to it for the timed version. All right, Jason Beret works. Should have gone with Sosa. Oh well. Gossage, I think he takes about 5% there. My Cameron will work here. Oh, Matt Stairs. Go maybe Jay Bell here. Only played one season in Kansas City. How about Wally Joyner? Now we need some first round draft picks. Oh, this is going to be tough. Barry Bonds was a first round draft pick. Okay. Um, and time is clicking down on me. What about was Tony Gwynn a first round draft pick? Who's not? I lose. Let's see if we can get a Cub. I gotta believe Chris Bryant was. Hate this category. All right. 166, minute 10, and I lose. So now the battle on the rarity score one is just gonna be can I get valid people for this final category here? Always struggle with this one. Um, I've not gone back and memorized any whole lot of first round draft picks. Anyway, that stinks. All right, stop share and start share. That's the right one. Cool. Pound refresh and oh, let's see. So Terry Forster will work here. He's starting to creep up. He's almost at 1%. Let's see, Jason Beret is a pretty good one for White Sox Cubs. Sammy Sosa obviously works. I think he might be the leader there. I didn't go back and see. Um, I used Matt Stairs, who works for both of these, and maybe this one too. Um, Joyner was down there. I'm gonna struggle with that one too because I know you've got like James Shields will work. Eric Hosmer obviously works. Those are big time categories. I gotta believe actually Hosmer was a first round draft pick. I'm surprised Gwynn wasn't, but um, also kind of think Finley might have been. Maybe not though. Finley was flipped around a lot early, which is why I wouldn't actually think he would be. Now that I think a little bit more on it. Um, can't say in Pittsburgh. Um, Joe Randa certainly works. Jeff King works. As I recall, they were a bit higher. Jason Kendall will work. Jason Kendall will work here though. I think I might use him there. Go sub one, pretty good. Um, yeah, James Shields works for both of these. I wonder if he was a first round pick. I don't actually know. Bellinger? Bellinger seems like he might have been a first round pick. He would work there then. I'm not sure on Maddox. I'm not sure on Mark. Mark Grace, I think might have been actually, because was he on the Olympic team? That's a maybe. I think I'm just gonna try to get some good ones here, and then we'll see what happens over here. But I keep dwelling on. I think I might have just used some good ones here, even though they're a couple percent each. But I'm struggling. Like Eric Hosmer, James Shields here. Um, Carlos Quentin will work here, but I think that'll be in the 5 to 10% range. He had a big 2008 season with Chicago. Look that up sometime. He missed last month and still drove in over 100 runs. I think he got fifth in the MVP voting. Let's see. Jamie Navarro will work here. He's a former Brewer. I'm guessing that's not how you spell Jamie. There we go. So he goes 0.2. Let's see if I improved upon Jeff King and Joe Randa. So they were both in the same trade with Jay Bell. Um, Jay Bell only plays the one season in Kansas City and then um goes to Arizona. Joe Randa comes back to Kansas City after going to Pittsburgh. Jeff King hangs out for a couple of years. I think he was hitting fourth on those teams. He was decent power bat. Um, Al Martin. Does that seem like a first round draft pick? Maybe. Denny Nagel. I'm mostly just thinking of people that achieved some degree of prominence and got to the big leagues relatively quickly. For here, just thought of just working both of these, but I believe Benito Santiago hits both. Right? I mean, he certainly played for San Diego. If I'm not coming up with, did he play for? I think he played for Kansas City. I think he played for Kansas City. How about this? I am gonna go Roberto Hernandez because I know he hits both teams. Our favorite 500 career hitter. He goes 0.4. And White Sox Padres. Mike Cameron was a pretty low pick there. He's only a couple percent. Started with the White Sox, had a couple years with the Padres that I think were right after his years with the Mets and right before his years with the Brewers. I think I've got that mapped out correctly. Let's see. Robin Ventura never makes his way over to San Diego. Ozzie Guillen, no. Ray Durham, no. Obviously not Frank Thomas or Paul Konerko. Mark Burley, of course not. Not even remembering very many. I bet Przinsky doesn't. Carlos Lee doesn't. Aaron Rowand, no. Magglio Ordonez, no. So that's a bunch of late '90s White Sox. Now, if we're looking at late '90s Padres, oh, you know who works? Let's try this one out. Mr. Roberto Alomar. 3%. Okay. Barely played with the White Sox. He started with the Padres. Actually, Sandy Alomar also would have worked, I think. I think he shows up in Chicago towards the end of his career. Do I trust that Benito Santiago was actually in Kansas City? Or am I just making that up? That's always the kind of the eternal question there. Did this actually happen or am I making it up? You know, Gaylord Perry was briefly with the Royals. See how he does. Takes 4%. Okay, I guess that's kind of run of the mill for both these guys. I mean, they're Hall of Famers. They didn't play in San Diego or Kansas City particularly long time, but Perry won a Cy Young Award in San Diego, so maybe I should have seen that coming. All right. Now for these first round draft picks, which I just I haven't studied them. I don't really have time to study for this or anything like that. I did look up those relievers and some of those players with I got on StatHead. I'm like, okay, let's find some guys who played like 10 games with a team and hit 300 and were never heard from again because they hit three different categories. But I've not done the same with first rounders. It's not fair to say I don't have any time sometime, but um, yeah. Not flush with time to look at first round draft picks. Um, yeah, so Bellinger comes to mind. Who's a maybe a player that kind of just pops into one of these places? Like Garrett Cole, he is certainly going to work for Pittsburgh. I think he'd be very high. Bonds was close to 20%. Evan Young and Al Martin were both well thought of and decent players. They were very highly regarded from an early age in Pittsburgh. At least that's how I'm remembering it. Um, Fred McGriff, was he a first round pick? It seems like he would be, and he'd work for both the Cubs and the Padres. How about Sheffield? Sheffield came up early with the Brewers. He was he's definitely like a highly touted prospect. Um, he's Dwight Gooden's nephew, I want to say. So like there was a family connection there. If it was like 62nd round draft pick, I'd go with Mike Piazza there. All right, let's try out Sheffield. And for the rarity score purposes, again, I'm kind of just trying to survive here, but for the rarity score purposes, he was only in San Diego for like a year and a half. So that makes me think he might work. 1%. Okay. So after a lot of words and a lot of rationalization, I got a 1%er out of that. So not bad. Let's see if I can do the same with the Cubs. Um, yeah. Gaetti came up really young with Minnesota, I think. I think he was pretty young. So that one wouldn't surprise me. He popped into Chicago for a time. Rizzo will work. He was a high draft pick by the Padres. Um, or was he? No, I'm sorry. He's by the Red Sox, right? They flipped him to the Padres for Adrian Gonzalez, and then he ended up in Chicago. Um, really not sure. I feel like the Pirates had a bunch of first round draft picks for a long time. Or not just first, everyone gets a first round draft pick, but they had a lot of very high first round draft picks for a very long time. Um, I think McCutcheon's got to work. Um, I got to believe McCutcheon and Cole would both work. Not sure about, say, Josh Harrison. Um, I mean, thinking those 08, 09 type who was coming up then. Um, maybe Jason Bay. He got good pretty quick. I'm not actually sure. Well, Kendall I've already used, so I can't use him. I keep coming back to like Al Martin and Kevin Young. And up there for the Cubs, um, I kind of think Alex Gonzalez, the the earlier one who played with the Blue Jays and then was on that '03 Cubs team, probably would have won. As I wrote in my book, he probably would have won an LCS MVP had the Cubs won that, well, him or Pryor. If the Cubs had won that championship series, he had 3 home runs, but made that costly error. He was definitely highly regarded as a young shortstop. Um, Nomar Garcia Parra, also highly regarded as a young prospect. I mean, that one, okay, here's I think I'm gonna go with Nomar. He ends up in Chicago in that '04 trade, and he's not remembered with the Cubs, so I think he'd be a little rare to score. But I think he was a first round draft pick, and my rationalization here is look at John Valentin's season in 1995. It was like, I mean, they didn't have WAR back then. It was like an 8.5 WAR season. He finishes top 10 in the MVP voting, 2020 season. I think he turns it on assisted triple play at some point. Like, I mean, just great year. Red Sox win the division. Um, the Red Sox in less than 2 years moved like in the year after that one, moved Valentin over to second and third base. I forget which. Jeff Fry was in the mix, but they moved him for Nomar. So this guy comes in, has a great year, and they're like, sorry, rookie's coming in. That to me means Nomar was probably a first round pick. So that's why I'm going to go with him. He goes point 4. And now, because now we can actually, well, I mean, Alomar and Perry kind of drove the score up a little bit, but I could go with McCutcheon. I feel safe with McCutcheon. Um, maybe Andy Van Slyke. Maybe Doug Drabeck. Um, not sure on Russell Martin what his situation might have been. 'Cause if he was born in Canada, so did he enter the draft? I'm not actually even sure. I really need to look up how these rules work. Because it would help. Um, Derek Lee was a Pirate. Was he a first round draft pick? He was definitely featured on um like prospect baseball cards before. Yeah, like I've got a couple. Including I think he was actually drafted by the Padres. If I'm not mistaken. I forget the exact how he ends up in Florida, who he gets traded for, but um he does end up in Pittsburgh, but just for like the last year of his career or something like that. But the fact that he was a prospect and he was being swapped around a little bit, maybe not. Oh, you know what? I think he was straight for Kevin Brown. I'm going with Derek Lee. I just thought of the timing there, and I'm like, who the Marlins and the Padres? Who were they? Kevin Brown goes from the Marlins to the Padres in '90 after the '97 season, after the Marlins win the World Series, has that big year, leads the Padres to a pennant in 1998, and then Derek Lee comes up very shortly thereafterwards with the Marlins. I think that had to have been it, and if that was it, right? He has to have been a highly touted product. They weren't going to give up Kevin Brown for some third rounder, right? Let's find out. Oh, that was a good guess. All right. So that was way low. I'm proud of that one. I'm proud of these because I didn't know them. I didn't know any of these guys were first round draft picks. Um, but I knew actually I think now that I think about it, I think the Brewers might have drafted. No, I don't know if it was a first rounder though. I think the Brewers actually drafted Nomar and he didn't sign. That was before college. Fun fact. But it just I'm proud of it because I didn't know it, but I was able to reason my way into these are high probability people to have been drafted high. None of whom are particularly remembered with the teams I selected them for. So that was pretty good. These were kind of duds, but I'm not thinking Gaylor Perry's actually gone up 1% since I finished the grid. So um Anyway, this was a fun grid 252, even though I botched it on the rarity score. I thought Tony Gwynn was a safe pick. But the the reasoning out, I'm proud of. That's because that's how you solve problems in life, right? And real talk. Um, you can try to memorize. And when I was going through school, if anyone's going through school and trying to like do root memorization, I was trying to do that, and I was trying to do that in engineering classes, which was not smart. It's a lot better to go through going through school and then going through like your professional life or even family life or fixing stuff around the house. It's a lot better to just know how things work than to memorize how to do things. In this case, I do. I realize that that's kind of coming from a guy who like just memorizes a lot of stuff about baseball, just remembers a lot of stuff about baseball because of all the research I did for my book. But that was a lot more fulfilling. That's a lot more, I think, applicable. Like you can't. It doesn't make a ton of sense to like just memorize the steps for I don't know how to um how to fix a busted pipe or something like that. How to fix a patch of drywall. Memorizing the steps, you should look them up, but memorizing the steps a lot useful than realizing, okay, this is how it's going to cure. This is the timing I have to give it. And so that was more how I solved that last one was I just kind of thought of people who seemed like they would be first round draft picks for that. And I could have been wrong. I could have picked someone and been like, for these reasons, I think he was a high draft pick. It's like, nope, actually, a scout just thought he was really good in the minors and they promoted him super quickly. That happens too. But anyway, thanks a lot for playing. Sorry for rambling on and trying to make this about life. It's not about life. It's just fun. It's just fun frivolities. But I like that one. I liked having some fun with that far right column there. So you all have a great rest of your Sunday. Go Packers are actually playing tomorrow, but I put the shirt on already, so whatever. And we'll see you then. Peace.